right, welcome to another episode of the Bulldog Bark. I'm yours truly, the Guru. With me today, got Michael D. Rosa, MD the Dream, and Kyle the Butler fan. BFC, Butler Fan Crew, will not be with us today. He's got a family thing going on. But what's better than the Butler family, guys? Here we go. All right. So Butler is coming off of, they're actually on a nice little 4-game winning streak, South Carolina, Virginia. Then we had a couple bye games after the Greenbrier where we had Wright State and Eastern Michigan, not even close to the same type of bye games that we had early in the season where we had like UIndy and Chicago State and those teams. These are actually like some legitimate teams that will be definitely players in their conferences. But Butler won both of them. They beat Wright State 94-69. Had a 65-point burst at half after being down at half by 3. They scored 65 in the second half. Absolutely just turned the table on that one. Bizjack had 20. Jai had 28 boards. That's his only game so far that he did not have a double-double. Traore 16, Kaiser 11. Stink Robinson, who's currently filling in for Jalen Jackson, who's currently injured, had 9 points and 3 steals. That defense, I know we're going to talk about it, is just absolutely tenacious. Love it. And then the Eastern Michigan game, we won 84-68. Honestly, it probably should have been a 20-point win, but we let White Boy get hot at the end. I don't know what that guy's name is, but I really did not appreciate him hitting 2 final minute threes to make that margin less. But Finley went absolutely off, had 29 points, one shy of his career high, actually, against the next opponent, Boise State, last year. And then Ajayi, right back to his usual business, 19 points, 13 boards, looking like the beast he is. And the biggest takeaway from that game might be that Butler went 15 of 19 from the free throw line, which was a nice, and you knew I was going to bring up free throws, Michael, but it was a nice little change of pace to make some free throws, especially I think we missed the first 3. So we really actually went for 15 for the next 16, which is great. Boys, let's kind of bunch that into we'll bunch the Wright State and EMU game into kind of one for your thoughts. But Michael, start with you. Kind of give me your thoughts, your breakdown on the Wright State and EMU games.
Yeah, how do you not know the name Merritt Alderink? How did you forget that?
Oh man, I should have. I think he's a he was at somewhere before he transferred there because I actually looked him up.
He was at Indiana State before, yes.
Yeah, I was right. Indiana State, yes.
If you want a Merritt Alderink update, and I believe we are the first podcast to ever give a Merritt Alderink update.
Hey,
he actually, in his college career, had only hit 1 3 before the Butler game.
Love that. That makes me so happy inside. Great. Good. Thank you for that stat. But, let's get him out of mind, out of sight. So what else you got?
Yeah. The thing that really stood out to me was, one, I thought Stink played fairly well in Jalen Jackson's absence. Rest. Sure. I thought he played very well, just in the fact that he's holding it down. Granted, I don't think these last two teams are going to be the test that he's really going to face once we get to conference play. And one area, I guess, if I have to nitpick that I thought he struggled with was kind of controlling the game and sort of tempo. And I think that's something that Boise State, is who we play next, and like a mini preview, is going to look to try to exploit and just try to really control the tempo. But other than that, I thought he was very solid. He's a pest defensively, really long. And you can see his offensive game is developing. It's nowhere near a finished product yet. If this is who he is as a senior offensively, there'll be some problems. But for the time being now, you can see he's still trying to make plays in certain spots. And for a freshman point guard, I'm never going to complain if they go out of their way to try to make a play and there's a turnover. Oh well, especially because on our team, Evan Haywood, Yame Butler, Jimmy Kaiser, those 3 guys really don't turn the ball over. So they're not going to go out of their way to try to tween, step back to make a play. Stink Robinson can do that, and they're allowing him to play super freely, and I really like that. And then defensively, he's just a pest. So I like what we've seen. There's definitely a lot of ground for him to cover, but I don't think there are any point guards in the Big East that jump out to me as man, Stink is nowhere near in the league of that guy, except whoever UConn runs at guard. That one's going to be a problem. But other than that, I think he's playing well enough, and I'm excited to see him tested as we get towards some of these games. I really want to see how he looks in these games. I think that's something I'm looking forward to.
Oh, love the way Stink is battling. Also, part of my language, but fuck that guy getting kicked out of the game. What bullshit. The dude laid on top of him.
Yeah, Michael, want to hear your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like Michael wanted him out.
So when I was watching it live, my first reaction was, oh, actually, you just cussed. I'm gonna cuss. I was like, oh, fuck off. That's a play on. And then they show the replay, and it's like,
It's not a
oh,
play on. It's
never
not a play
mind.
on. It's not a play on, but it's not an F2.
And then they showed the replay, and I'm like, I don't hate the ejection call. Like, would I have done it? Probably not. But like, I also kind of just like let anything stand. So like, I'm very like lax on it. But like, there have been many worse calls in college basketball. I'm like, I understood that.
You
I
could
mean,
say that
it's a flagrant.
you could say that he got kicked out of the game. But I'm gonna add like a in that part right there. Yeah, yeah. Um, but no, yeah, love the way he's playing. Actually, he's shooting. I think the biggest surprise for him because love the defensive intensity. It's only one attempt per game, but he's actually shooting 50% from three, which was
And they're
something
all
I
when he's taking them. Sorry to cut you off.
yeah
He's taking them in rhythm too. Like he's
mhm,
not forcing them. He's
yeah
catching, shooting, or it's in transition, and he's wide open.
right
I think
right.
it's largely because of, well, when you're playing high school, right? Even at the level he played at, which is a high level for high school for, in Lawrence North and that conference, it's you face good players every day. But one of, I would say, my nitpicks about Stink is in high school. If you watch full games, I watched multiple full games in person. He forced his jumper a lot in high school. And of course, part of that is because he's the star of the team, right? He's the top 100 Butler commit. Like he's going to take shots, but he definitely forced his jumper in high school to the detriment of his team at times, just to be completely honest. Um, but yeah, I mean, clearly that's been coached out of him. Obviously, it's a different role when you're the not even close to the best player on your team, and especially not close to the offensive threat on your team. But I was slightly worried about that because he was not billed as a shooter, and I still don't think he is if he had a super high volume. I don't think he's a 50% shooter, of course, but he is definitely not forced his jumper. And that was one of, if you would have told me before the year, that was one of my main concerns about Stink.
Yeah, it does feel like every single one of his shots is like wide open. So, which again, he's just taking what comes to him. In fact, in general, Butler does take what comes to them. They shoot the 3 point at a high clip, but they don't do a lot of volume. So they're taking good shots, other than Finley, who just fires from everywhere. And we love seeing him fire from everywhere.
Honestly, is it a bad shot if he's
No, it's
firing?
not. No, it's never a bad shot from Finley. I actually, the last game at the Eastern Michigan game, the guy next to me said, "What is that?" And I said, "That is Finley Bizjack because he can shoot anywhere, and I'm actually somewhat confident it's going in." But yeah, so obviously a lot of positives about Stink and a lot of growth obviously has to go on. Kyle, I know we were kind of just going on about Stink there, but any other thoughts from the Wright State and Eastern Michigan games?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, obviously the Jalen Ed Jackson injury kind of hanging over the team right now. Don't know, probably I'm assuming he's been in a boot, so assuming he's not playing against Boise, assuming he's gonna be out against some of these real teams. I am interested to see the offense. I would be lying if I said that, and obviously it turned out fine. They won the games by a good margin, so that's all you can ask for, right? And genuinely, I mean that. But I'd be lying if there wasn't a bit of trepidation that said, okay, the offense definitely didn't look like it was in the flow it was at the Greenbrier in the early bye games at times, without Jackson on the floor. I know that Jackson maybe wasn't having the season um, prior to him getting hurt or missing time that we maybe thought he could have. I mean, he wasn't playing horrible, but maybe not as well as we thought he could. But either way, the offense definitely didn't flow quite as well in the first halves, especially. So very interested to see that on Saturday, as Michael is. Other than that, I'll continue, I guess, to a certain extent, um, singing the praises of a guy who I think has been improving steadily, um, consistently, and I think that game to game, and that's Drayton Jones. I don't think he's any sort of superstar. I don't think he needs to be a superstar for this team. I think he's been getting better more or less every day, doing like one thing and two things the next day that he's less erratic now. He still has his moments, but he's less erratic. The first couple games, he was kicking the ball over the place, and that's the kind of guy he is. He's got that energy. I think he's wrangled it a little bit and got it under control. I'm much more confident with Drayton on the floor now. And then also, I just want to also just talk about Finley and for a second there, and just that we talked about it for a second, but I mean, against anyone, I'm confident that we might have other with the exception of a few guys that we're going to play our schedule. He's going to be the best pure scorer on the floor in most games. And it's just so valuable to have. I mean, on top of that, he really is a good finisher at the rim. I don't know if he utilizes it as much as he can sometimes, but so impressed with him. And then another double double for Ajayi against Eastern Michigan. So yeah, I mean, good wins, good wins. By games. So maybe not as convincing as the first three. Better teams. Interested to see this team without Jalen against Boise for sure.
Yep. No, agree with everything. And then another thing that I liked from those games was especially the Eastern Michigan game. I mean, this obviously we had the Greenbrier and everything, but it was good to see them with a little adversity. I mean, down at half in the Wright State game, and then Eastern Michigan. I mean, you think about the teams of the past, they get punched in the mouth like that. I don't think they respond as well. Like that was a physical game. Like that was a really physical game. That team was being, I mean, and it was good to see our guys not back down from that. Like we were just as physical. We were being just as kind of intense as they were. Which again, teams in the past, especially these past 5 years, I think that's one of those ones where like it comes down to the wire. Versus this one, we just kept pushing back and expanding the lead. So like
I was gonna say that I don't know which one of those two. And again, there were some great players on last year's team, but if we just call it how it is, I say that one of those two games that we just played last year would have been a loss or a very nail biting win. The like one of
yeah.
those two. I don't know which, but one of those two games we might have lost last year.
I don't disagree. It would be at a minimum close, right? Like I think of like the Missouri State game, first game of the year. Like I could see one of these being like that, where like they just hung around. We won by like 9 or something,
They
but
were terrible.
yeah, they ended up being really bad. So it's good to see us kind of not back down from that. I think we do have a team of guys that are just a lot more physical, which is good. So yeah. So again, Butler, they only have one more bye game. We're pretty much out of bye games, boys. So we have one more bye game against NJIT on December 22nd. So kind of a big stretch of games coming up, and we're going to talk about the Boise State one. We got Boise State at home, Providence at home. Then we go to there's those Big East games kind of spread in the middle now of our non-conference. So we got UConn on the road. So we got some big and then Northwestern for the Indy Classic neutral court. So a really big 4-game stretch coming up here. And the it has to start this Saturday. We need to take care of business at home. You need to defend Hinkle. We're going to talk about Boise State now. And Michael, I'll pass it off to you first. Kind of give me your preview of Butler versus Boise State.
Yeah, we talked about this a little pre-show before we started recording. So it seems like you guys are much more confident in this game than I am. There are just a couple things to me, like, I mean, granted, I think I've said that. Have we played Boise State? Is this going to be the third time in the last like 4 years?
It's going to be the third year in a row, and with next year because we play them in a home and home, we're going to play Boise freaking State, a school in Idaho, 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
With
And
like after next year.
The rivalry everyone wanted,
Everyone.
Broncos Bulldogs. Between that and the Northwestern Wildcat, we want to battle the Cats and we want to battle the Broncos. Yep, absolutely.
And I feel like every single time we've done this, I've come over here and been like, ah, man, Boise State guys, they could get us. And then you guys are like, what are you talking about? And then this game starts and it's like, all right, Michael, you're right on this one. And then Butler ends up winning by 20. So there's a chance it goes like that, but there are just a couple things that I'm like, that kind of make me a little uneasy. One, I know this roster pretty well on Boise State because I spent a lot of time looking at the Mountain West last year, which I know is Guru's favorite conference. So please, you can ask all the Mountain West questions you want. But I knew Drew Fielder very well because he was at Georgetown the last few years. SoCal Academy before that. Dylan Andrews, their starting point guard. He spent 3 years at UCLA. Now at Boise State. He's fine. Just a very experienced guard, so I think that's another test for Stink. He's not nearly the most talented player by any means, but very experienced, just does all the little things well, really draws fouls well. Draws fouls, doesn't commit fouls, and is just a willing passer. So I'm interested to see how Stink looks there and what happens if Stink gets in foul trouble, because I think that's very possible. And Andrews is pretty quick hands too. So just kind of a complete test there. And one thing Boise State does really well is, well, they do a couple of things pretty well in my mind, but one, they take teams off the glass. Like you don't really dominate. Like they're a really good defensive rebounding team, and that even showed in their two Maui games against USC and NC State. Granted, NC State has no size up front, but USC has a ton of size, and they were still able to relatively keep them off the glass. And frankly, in my opinion, I thought they were the better team in that game. And another thing they do well is they draw fouls, so I'm just kind of worried about our depth in that spot. But Javen Buchanan, I think, is their best player. He went to Indiana Wesleyan for a couple years before coming to Boise State. He played last year, and then this is his final. I believe this is his final season at Boise State. I'm not too certain how all that eligibility stuff works, but forward, jack of all trades, master of none. Very solid. He can put the ball on the floor. He can step out. He can shoot. He has good vision. Not the quickest guy, but quick enough. Wouldn't call him fast. He moves laterally fine. Like he was up enough for the task of going up against Darian Williams, who was, I mean, we have a very good power forward of our own in Michael Ajayi. Darian Williams is also one of the country's best, and Williams had 16 and 3 boards. Like for Darian Williams, that's kind of a, I wouldn't say that's a bad game, but like it's not a good game. So he held his own there, all things considered, and I feel like he's a guy that could give Ajayi a little bit of problems, like not full resistance, but like just enough. And Boise over the years, they're just very solid in the fact that they control the tempo and they do what they want to do in most games. And I feel like they're going to have a decent chance in that here. And in their two high major games, the thing they ended up costing them was because USC and NC State both shot over 40% from three. And that's something Butler has done all season. So you would think that's a benefit, but like, I don't know. It just, I was talking with a Georgetown fan about this. Jake Foot, shout out, and finger wag, all that stuff. And one thing he pointed out is like, yeah, Butler's, I think like just watching them, they've been very good, but Butler's shooting 41% from three. Their opponents are shooting 31% from three. How sustainable is that? And I don't know, but I do think we are the better team and we should win this one. But there's just something in the back of my mind that says this one's going to be closer than you want it to be. Ramble over.
No, that's I see. It's good we get that because I like we talked pre-show. I probably am overconfident. I don't know why. One big thing that I have before I give it to Kyle, and I want to confirm this. This is their first true road game, correct? So being their first, it
Yeah,
is their first
yeah,
true
it
road
is.
game.
They
Yeah,
played
and you
Wichita at
know me,
home.
I hate first true road games. First true road games are the worst, and the fact we actually almost beat SMU is why I hate. We should have got that win, but like I was like, wow, we almost won our first true road game. Um, so anytime you have first true road game, I just think, I mean, think about the teams we beat in the past. We beat a Kansas State team that was like Elite Eight level. We beat Texas Tech. We beaten more. I can't think off the top of my head, but we beat more of these like good teams, even on teams that were kind of subpar for Butler because it was their first true road game. So I think that's like a much bigger factor for me than all the stats I'm going to throw at you in a little bit here. But that's probably one of the. I just want to point that out, Michael, that it's their first true road game. You were the one that taught me that, by the way. You were like, you showed me first. You said, "Hey, Guru, like these are first true road games, man. These are tough." And I was like, you know what, Michael, you're right. And now you're flipping back around. So now I don't know. Now the master apprentice thing, I'm all confused. It's just weird.
I mean, it is still a thing that I genuinely look for, especially like this late in the season. Especially like if it's your first true road game and it's like the third game, it's like but like once you kind of get used to like playing at home and like playing in that like environment you're really used to, I mean, you're not traveling on the day before the game. You're sleeping somewhere where you know you're sleeping. You know the arena, you know the walk through what you're doing, you know all that stuff. Versus now you have a crowd that's going to be yelling at you and hopefully a pretty packed crowd in Hinkle.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a factor and. Also, Drew Fielder's a really bad rim protector. So,
I
So
mean,
I'll get those stats a bit, but Kyle, I'll give it to you, man. Boise State thoughts.
yeah, I mean, quickly, the only pushback I guess I'd have on the first true road game thing is they did do Maui, which is like it's not a road game where they're getting yelled at by the crowd because I saw their contingent was pretty good in Maui. It was probably one of the better ones out there for a pretty weak field, but a weak field also as crowds go. Those Maui crowds were very bad compared to most years in Maui. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that Leon Rice is a very good coach. I think that they're a well-coached team, and I think that they're not, and I don't mean this with the whole first true road damn thing. I think that this isn't a team that I don't see a blowout here. I think you'll see a spoiler alert for my prediction. I'm going to predict a win. I think we're going to win, but this isn't a team that is just going to roll over and beat itself. It's a team with smart players that's well coached. A coach that frankly I guess it's a really good program and he probably has a great life there, but it's a coach that I'm confused as to why I don't see his name a little bit more for bigger jobs, but whatever. Um, I think that it's a team that if we play our game and shoot well, and we're going to be one of the teams that's going to rebound with Boise State. They're not going to have many of them this year, whether that be in Maui, whether that be in conference play for them in the Mountain West. We are a pretty good rebounding team, and if we can stay with them on the boards, if we can shoot threes well, this is a team that we just have to understand that we're probably more talented than. But we have to go into it knowing that they're not going to beat themselves. We're going to have to beat them. And I think that there are some teams that will roll over. Um, and this is not going to be one of them. So I know Fielder, I know Buchanan, I know Meadow, I know Andrews, I know Aaron's good players. I like them all. But honestly, I mean Fielder, whatever. I don't think he's very good, but whatever. The point is that they've got some guys, but I think we're more talented. I haven't done a full deep dive with the stats that Guru's going to have. I think we win, but this isn't going to be a game that we're going to run them off the court. If we run them off the court, I will be incredibly impressed, to be honest.
All right. Time for me to get in here with these stats, boys. All right. So, no, so just diving into Boise State, and I was like doing just my classic Ken Palm research, and um, so looking at like their offense, and Michael, you obviously know like way more about like the ins and outs of them. So like correct me at any point that I'm wrong. I mean, they score. It looks like their 3-point percentage. They're 138th in the. Remember, there's 365 teams. They're 138th in 3-point percentage. They're 286th in 2-point percentage, and they're 282nd in getting blocked. Our stat looks bad too, but remember we got blocked 15,000 times in the Virginia game. That's the only reason that happened. And they also are 228th in turnover percentage. So like their offense just doesn't like. I mean, just based and you look at their games like 62 to 58 Montana State, 62 to 59 Wichita State. This team doesn't score, and like it just like against our team, who I mean frankly, we like to score in the home environment. I just think that we have a big advantage when the other team is just not. It's just not going to keep pace with our scoring. Now, the defense is a different story. They're like 27th, I think, on KenPom. I did not write that stat down. Michael already talked about this. They are 11th in the country in protecting the defensive rebounding percentage or protecting the offensive rebounds, right? So that is one of our that's like one of our strongest things, right? So we're sixth in the country or whatever we are now. So will Ajayi be able to still capitalize? Will Kaiser still be able to capitalize? Can we still get those offensive boards? That's I think that's going to be a huge part of this game. But they're 354th in block rate, 340th in steal rate, 230th in giving up like 3-point percentage. Like I guess I don't know where. And Michael or Kyle, like, tell me where I'm like missing. Like, where is like this like their 27th in defensive rating? Like, I guess I just don't understand where that's coming from.
I think a lot of it's coaching and just being a well-organized team.
Does
And
it
I would
run?
say, for the most part, they run teams off the line, off the 3-point line. Like you're not getting a ton of 3-point attempts against them. The ones teams are getting, they're generally making, but you're not shooting a ton of threes. They're kind of forcing you inside, and they're forcing you into like some tougher looks. And a lot of teams are also like, you mentioned how they're low in block and steal rate, but they are ninth in the non-steal percentage. So teams are just throwing the ball out of bounds against them.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. So I mean, again, and you talked about like the USC guy. I guess what like if they're where do they stop Ajayi? Like so Ajayi, I know they keep him off the boards, but like if they're not really any presence down low, you talked about Fielder already. Like why what stops like Ajayi or someone or even a Traore who we know at least offensively is gifted? Like what stops them from having like great games? Again,
I think they're decent at preventing teams from getting to the rim. And on the other hand, they also settle for a ton of mid-range jumpers. That's kind of why their 2-point percentage is very low. Um, but I think they're decent at preventing teams from getting like all the way to the rim. But once you get all the way to the rim, I mean, I watch True Fielder as a rim protector a lot in the Big East. Respectfully, in the most respectful way possible, because I like True Fielder. I like him. The downgrade from Thomas Sorber to Drew Fielder, I think, is probably about as big of a possible gap in rim protection as there could ever be in college basketball. Like it was catastrophic. Teams were shooting like sub 40% on the rim against Sorber to like nearly 70% against Fielder. I'm exaggerating the numbers a bit, but like we should be once we get to the rim, we should be able to finish over Drew Fielder, particularly like Ajayi. But I think they do a decent job of preventing teams from getting all the way to the rim, and they'll make them settle for like middies. And all things considered, that you're okay with giving that up defensively a bit, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, see, that's why I ask you these questions because I just see the stats, but I gotta be honest, I haven't watched like a full Boise State game, so I can't sit here and be like, I know the ins and outs.
Like, I mean, granted, USC is a much more talented team, but like Boise State had some shots. They played all right. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I get
Another
it. Go over.
another thing real quick that I would say I'm interested to see in this game real quick that I left out is that um their two best scorers, their scorers in points per game, but I would also just say their two best scorers and most consistent scorers are Meadow and Buchanan, and they're both, I mean, they're both 6'7". They're both more so forwards. Like, and of course they play pretty big because they play Meadow Buchanan fielder most a lot of the game. So but those forwards are, and I guess Hab was the leading scorer against us on Tuesday. He's a forward, but he didn't have an amazing game. He kind of got locked up for much of it, and then he got a lot of points kind of in garbage time a little bit. But the point is that we've done a much better job defensively on forwards than guards this year. So I think a key for us is knowing that we are quite good with Kaiser, Ajayi, Jones against bigger players. Especially, we will probably put a combination of Kaiser and Ajayi on one of the two of on Meadow and Buchanan. I feel pretty confident on that. As far as stopping them, a lot of it is their guard Dylan Andrews, who I actually really like personally. I watched the NC State game. I watched the full NC State game, and he had 26 in that game. He was very good. And I think he's kind of the guy that if I was a Boise State fan, right, and I'm looking at Butler's defense, I would say Andrews is going to have a big game. So conversely, see what we can do against Andrews defensively.
Uh, so uh, no, so yeah, so again, I don't think it's gonna be a blowout either. I mean, I'm not serious thinking it's a blowout, but I just have like I don't know. It's the same reason that I have actually the opposite. I have basically pessimism when it comes to and we said this. I said the same thing during the SMU one. I said I said I don't think we're gonna win this game. I remember I changed my mind because all of you guys said we were gonna win. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the one, but then I changed it because I was like, I gotta ride. But it's the same reason that I hate Butler in their first true road games. The same reason that I love Butler in first true home games. Even last year against SMU, when SMU was coming to town, and we really played pretty poorly before that. We lost to Austin P, beat Western Michigan in really an ugly fashion. But I remember they were coming to town. I was like, it's the first true road game. We're fine. Like it's just a different beast. So again, I'm not saying we're gonna blow them out by any means. Boise State is a well established program. I just don't think this year is the same standard that we're used to seeing a Boise State team. That's all. And so, it shows in their. I mean, it just shows in their game so far. I mean, they realistically could have lost to Montana State and Wichita State and Hawaii Pacific by now, which is pretty bad. Like that's some pretty bad teams. So first true road game against a team that's like Butler that honestly is playing really well. I don't know. I like our shot here. But that's why they play the games, boys. That's why they play the game. So, anything else you guys want to add about the Boise State game before we give our predictions?
Yeah, one quick thing. Kyle mentioned that they play big, and he is correct. I mean, just on the KenPom, if you scroll down to like the depth chart of the past 5 games, their most common lineup is Dylan Andrews, who's 6'3". Then it's, I mean, three of their 4 6'7" guys: Andrew Meadow, Pearson Carmichael, RJ Keene, Javen Buchanan, all 6'7", and then Drew Fielder at the 5. So they're playing big. However, that also means they're very slow. So if we're able to run and gun them, it probably will look very easy. But if they're able to slow the pace, control the tempo, and really make it ugly, we're in for a slop fest.
And we saw that in the Eastern Michigan. I mean, Eastern Michigan, I feel like in the first half, especially, did a pretty good job of like forcing us into half court sets, which was not great. We like to run it. So I will say though, we were the 20th tallest team last year, and we saw how that went. So yes, speed.
I was gonna say they kind of remind me of last year's Butler team.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Yeah, like tall, lanky. I will say our team last year was much more offensively gifted,
Yeah.
but honestly, we're the exact like from like we like the looks of them is the same, but honestly, like we were just so bad defensively and so good offensively, and this team is kind of a little bit not great offensively, but apparently pretty good defensively. So BFC could be with us, but let me pull up. So he's going to give, and I'm going to make a cool little graphic, boys. I'm going to make a cool little graphic of all of our picks so far because I promised we were going to do this, and we're going to start tracking it. So BFC's prediction, he said it to us. He said he thinks it's going to be 88-75 Butler Bulldogs with the victory. Michael, I'll pass to you. What's your prediction for the Boise State game? By the way, it's this Saturday at 2. Get your asses to Hinkle. I'm just going to yell that out loud. Get to Hinkle. There's no reason it should not be packed. Absolutely no reason. This team is playing great. Get to Hinkle. This team has a legitimate shot if they play well and they win their games of going to the tournament for the first time. I mean, should have been 2020, but, back since 2018 or whatever that Keelan year, I think it was 2018. Michael, prediction, what do you got?
2018 is so long ago. I think they're going to have a decent job at slowing the game down, at least early. I think this one's going to be competitive. I really do. I think it's going to be more competitive than most Butler fans I expect to think, and I don't really have any you've listened to me talk about it for the last couple minutes. I don't have any definitive reason why. It's just the hairs on the back of my neck. Reminds me of that Cal game from a couple years ago, but that game went to triple overtime and whatever, 7 overtimes or whatever it was, 2. I don't think this one will. I'm going to go 72-69 Butler wins, but in a greasy game.
Ooh. Do you think we hit some free throws to win that?
I mean, we must have to, right?
Actually, fun fact is actually Boise State against Boise State. Their teams have shot terrible. They've shot teams against them have shot 66% from the free throw line. We shoot 66% from the free throw line.
So that means Finley is getting the last 10 free throws. He's knocking down all 10.
Hear me out. One last thing before I get to go. I'm not kidding you. They should sub in Jack McCaffrey just to get fouled because that dude's free throw shot is pretty. I was like, oh man, just give that. If him, he might be the most confident person I have going to the free throw line. He made those 2 against Eastern. I was like, that was beautiful. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Thad needs to maybe consider that. Also, Thad, never take Kaiser and Ajayi off at the same time ever again. Never. Just stop doing it. It just blows my mind when he does that. I'm like, dude, you got to look at the stats. Oh, it just blows my mind. Anyway, sorry, I'm gonna ramble. Kyle, prediction.
I'm going to assume I'm going to go with a margin. BFC's was pretty large. I think 88-75 is a 13-point win. I'm going to assume I'm going to be somewhere in between Michael and Guru and BFC. I'm going to say Butler wins a close one, 78-72.
All right. I like it. I'm going to go. Let me just dial this up here. So I think Finley continues to pop off. They can't. You know what? When's last time we gave up? So we gave up what? How many to Virginia? We gave up 72. What was the final score of that game?
I want to say we get 80-73.
80-73.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with them in the 60s. I'm gonna say that Boise's gonna go. I'm gonna go with Boise because honestly, we really don't. Maybe we're lucky. To Michael's point, maybe we're getting lucky from 3, but we don't actually give up all that many. We've had a lot of games where we kept teams in the 60s, low 70s, other than the SMU game that popped off. But Boise doesn't play that level. So I'm gonna go with a little 72-65. Kind of a little bit of a wait, Michael. What'd you say?
72-69. So.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, close to that. Whatever. I forgot what you said. Keep it. I'm gonna keep the 72 because I like the 72. That sounds like a good number. But I'm gonna go with 65. I think Boise State tries, like you said. I think they try to mucky it up, and I don't think this is gonna be an offensive explosion by any means. First true road game. They're not really great offensively anyway, so I think that it's gonna be kind of ugly. And they're gonna try and slow us down. I don't think this becomes anywhere too high. Even though KenPom would tell me I should just pick the KenPom game. What did they say?
How much does KenPom have us winning this game by? I do not know.
Let's see. Let's find out, boys.
77-72 Butler.
Oh, that was basically I had 78-72. So
all right, so KenPom's in here too. So KenPom,
my brain is just a computer.
You are. I've heard that you might be KenPom.
Giga Kyle, they call him. Yeah.
Yeah. They call me Kyle Ken Pomeroy McClintock.
Kai Pom. There it is. Yeah, we got that. Kai Pom. All right. So it sounds like we're all on board the Bulldogs. Some of us think might be a little closer than others. None of us really say anything crazy though. I think BFC had the biggest difference. But again, huge stretch of games. Boise State, Providence, at UConn, and then the neutral against Northwestern. So huge stretch of games coming up. If the Bulldogs want to establish themselves, they need to capitalize now, and it all starts on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern time in Hinkle Fieldhouse against Boise State. Get your butts to Hinkle. This team deserves all of the support that they've earned it. They've played great. Get your butts to Hinkle. I know it's been a rough few years, and people have become maybe a little bit apathetic, but get your butts to Hinkle. It's going to be rocking, and let's get them a dub against the solid Boise State team. So as always, boys, go Dogs.